Hey, welcome everybody. Doofus Bob here. Bit of a different camera angle here at this time. I want to get this view here, talk about some mistakes here, and we're gonna fix it in this episode, or we're gonna try to, and then we're gonna finally get into the trenches. This might be an hour-long episode because I haven't made one for about 2 weeks because got busy. Some other things happened, and honestly, I was just giving it some thought. Don't be afraid to step back from your projects and give things a thought. YouTube likes it if you put out one video a week, based on what I've read online. But quality I think is more important than quantity. So I had to take a break. I came down to my Star Wars man cave here, watched some movies, sat over here, gave it some thought, and I think I know which direction we're gonna go in. And with the trenches, but I gave that a lot of thought as to how I'm gonna do this, since the two layers down here are glued together, which was necessary for the beginning of this project and to continue. But I think we're gonna just go ahead and wing it, and let's see how it works out, and we can fix it if we need to, and it's we'll both learn something along the way. Boy, okay. I don't know where you are in the U.S. or the rest of the world. I mean, you're all in wherever you live, but man, it is ass cold outside right now here in the Midwest again. We're down to 18 degrees. I'm sure some of you up north are even colder, but still. Oh, oh, great. Looks great on camera, doesn't it? I don't know if you saw that. Make fun of yourself. It builds humility. But my little hoodie rope thing here went into my coffee. So one thing, and let me grab my permanent marker here. I'm a little tired. I actually took my fat ass back to the gym. I've been pretty good. Hit it every day for the last 2 weeks. I take off Saturdays and Sundays, so maybe not every day, but otherwise I'll start to hate it and I won't want to go. But whew, I tell you what, I got on the scale after the holidays and I was up to 198 pounds. I have never been this heavy. So back to this, which is why you're here, hopefully. We got a bit of a problem. So you can see the glacier pathway here, right? Let's move my coffee. And you see it's coming this way. Well, when we built this, I guess we made it too big. So, and we've got this ledge here, which kind of sits over the glacier pathway. So we're going to want to cut some of this off. And I'm thinking it's going this way. You might get let me adjust the camera and get you a top view before I mark something here. But the other thing is over here, which is behind our little glacier here. Let's move that. You might see my projection screen back there. I always like to watch some ghost videos. So if that's your YouTube channel back there, I'm not trying to do copyright or anything. Okay. So right here is where the shield generator sits, behind this ridge that we just moved. So this is also overlapping into that area. Now the entrance to Echo Base sat inside of a huge mountain. But remember, Echo Base is not the focus of this project, just the battlefield outside of Echo Base, right? The might of the Imperial machine coming towards the Echo Base is what we're looking for. So I did have a thought that if I were to take this whole project and turn it 90 degrees this way, so it lays along the wall this way, then on this side, I could put another table with more foam and actually build out Echo Base. Unfortunately, this project and the spaceport, which is sitting over here, you can kind of see some of it over here. They're huge, and I'm going to run out of space. So for now, let's just focus on this. But you know, it's always good to think ahead a little bit as to what you can do with your existing projects. You can merge them sometimes together. All right, let me adjust the camera view, and then we'll come back to this. Okay, we're back. Got myself out of the view because, you know, like I said before, you don't want to see me. Let's pick up here. So shield generator is over here, right? Glacier is moving this way, and now you can see this pathway of this ice flow. So let's start getting rid of some of this. Now this kind of curves around this way, so I'm just going to draw a line like that. Let's cut that, because in real life, if that glacier is coming this way, it would have eaten away at this part of the mountainside. It probably would have curved around for a while, but since we already have it this way, let's change this to suit this, not the other way around, because I would like to put a couple squads of rebel troopers over here, maybe like preparing with supplies or something like that. That's once we get all the snow and everything. So for this part, I think it's best if we just cut this part up here like this. And I'm going behind it as well, which you can't see, but that's okay. And then over here, this part is overlapping with the shield generator. It is making this smaller, but as I said at the beginning, this is not the focus. That's the focus. The battlefield is the focus, okay? So let's go ahead. We did have, let's see, let's put our ice ridge back just so we can have a point of reference. Make sure we're not doing anything to mess stuff up here. I think we had it about like that. Yeah, that works out well. So we want to keep this pathway here open. And the generator is about here. Can you see that? Yeah, barely. It's a little far out, isn't it? Well, it's okay. Let's just cut it. Kind of maybe coming up this way. So we'll cut all that off. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to change the camera angle again and bring it around this side so you can see me working on this, and then afterwards the trenches. Okay, we're back. So I've got my little pylons here. There's one over there, there's one over here, there's one right here you can see. Kind of give me, I started doing this to keep me in view of the camera. Sometimes I was working too far back and up here where you can't see my hand right now, and then we need to be in view because that's the point of this, right? So put my coffee off to the side there. Okay, now I plugged in my little wire cutter here. I'm gonna heat that up. Give that a second. You can see some of the vapors coming off of there. It means it's heating up. Hope you had a good January. Honestly, mine's been kind of quiet. Got a few projects going on at work. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about it here. Companies don't like it. And I actually work in research and development anyway. So, I mean, to some degree, everything I work on is non-discussable, if you will. But it's pretty good. Things are nice. Let's see. Now, of course, I'm not going to touch it, but I am going to hold my hand over it. So right about here, I can feel really good heat. You know, it's all right. Let's do some cutting. Now, let's follow along this path. Now, this part here, make sure I am in camera view. Yeah. Okay. That part makes me nervous. Okay, so this part here is obviously that foam board that's sandwiched between some sort of a cardboard paper. It's a cardboard sandwich with foam in the middle. You know what? I'll be honest and say I don't know what kind of foam that is, but I can look it up. I think it's styrofoam. Um, let's go at an angle to keep it kind of a mountainy look. Let's see, is that enough? I wonder if I should use the other one. I'm going to use this one because the so these sticks are great, but it's much thicker than this wire, so it really gets coated. And we're probably going to use that for the trenches, but not for this one. Let me see. How much thickness do I have? Let's just go down until we can. Okay, let's see what that gave us. Okay, take that out. Yeah, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm gonna come over here and kind of go backwards a little bit. There. Kind of give it that windswept look. And then now we've got this corner here. Maybe we can kind of get rid of that a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm pretty good with that. I'm good with that. Remember, keep all your pieces. In later episodes, we'll see how we can use those. I did see some other people making stuff with, like tabletop terrains, and the videos are titled, ice ice ruins maze, like a battle maze or something like that you get lost in. 24-hour build. That's great. That's great. This that's not what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm just taking my time with this. This is a hobby for me. So let me grab my utility knife and let's go ahead. Now I'm cutting on top of this, obviously, but any scratches or anything will be filled in. Let's go ahead and I'm going to cut this way. There we go. Okay. Going to take this out a little bit and just cut another piece off of there. And just kind of a little bit more. Now, when we put the ice and everything, the snow and all that on here, we can cover up all our mistakes. All right, so let's do the other side now. I'm going to try to do this so you can see it. This one has a much larger piece to cut. Let me come around. I tell you what, camera angles are a bitch sometimes. Okay, so let's just slice it off like this. So I'm having to go across it because there's only so much space there, right? Okay. Need to go a little bit more. coming back up this way, kind of a weird way, but there we go. Oh, I actually like the way that looks. Let's get rid of some of these angles here. Okay, so did you see we had some resistance here? That's the glue. That's the Gorilla Glue that we had put here earlier. So let's just avoid that. And one of the reasons you want to not do that too much is the fumes. Gorilla Glue is a wonderful product, but fume-wise, you don't want to burn it. Okay, it's not good for you to be breathing that. Okay, I'm actually gonna turn it off and put it over here so I can step away from it and not worry about burning my house down. I'm sure State Farm would not be thrilled about that. Well, they'd have to pay me, that's why. All right, I'm gonna chop that off. Okay. So now I'm gonna change the camera angle and we'll take a look at what we got. I hope none of these files get corrupted. I've complained about my camera before, but I don't want to spend any money right now because I spent too much money last year. I went to Japan for a Star Wars convention. I had to replace my garage door, blah, 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 blah. So altogether, that was about $6,000 right there. So I don't want to spend more money. Okay. So you remember how it was before? You can rewind the video and look at it. But now look, full nice area for the shield generator over here. We're no longer interfering with this ice flow. And what we might actually do is bring some of this ice flow. We'll grind it some coming around this way. I'm not going to do that right now. And I think we're ready to get in the thing that I've been kind of dreading. That's the trenches. Okay. I'm going to reset the camera here and we'll get into the trenches. All right. That took a minute. You didn't see how long it took me about 15 minutes to get this set up right. Got some bits there. All right. So, you know what I need? I need a pointer of some kind. All right. We'll use this. So, we have a trench going here, and we have a trench going here, one over here, and two over here. Okay, so I'm going to get my permanent marker, and one of the things I did was, you know what we need to do is we need to put back our ridge for a guide. There we go. All right. Let's look at that again. See, again, it's okay to make mistakes. And this is not glued down, so I think we're going to move this out a little bit. Give us a little bit more room to play. I think we'll probably end up putting something like this. I am overlapping some of the work I did, but we'll put another ice shelf here or something. Okay, so let's look at this again. We got one here, roughly the thickness of this little piece of plastic. And we'll have one here. What I did is, so what George Lucas did when he planned out the Battle of Hoth and some of the people that worked for him, they went back and looked at reels of World War One. So if you're not familiar with World War One, that was Germany and France and other countries. The camera's going to shake a little bit. I'm changing my viewer towards me so I can see it. That's better. Trench warfare. Okay, so and it was brutal, just brutal. I mean, they fought for months and months and months, and each side would move essentially from here to like right here, or from here to back here. They literally were gaining yards, meters. It wasn't like they were pushing each other backwards and forwards 50, 60, 70 miles. It was horrible. So what they did is they watched some of those reels and said, okay, maybe we can use that as a reference. And I kind of did that yesterday. I watched some YouTube videos on trench warfare. Trenches are very complicated and whatnot. So one thing I noticed, let me get my permanent marker here, is that my trenches are too straight. Okay. They weren't made straight. And I went back and I looked at some of the images of Empire Strikes Back. And, in certain spots, the trenches were somewhat linear, but for the most part, they kind of wove around. So I think it would look much cooler if I did that. I think the way I was going to do it was a little bit too simplistic. And so let's change that up a little bit. So to do that, let's put on here roughly the outer boundaries, right? So to come over here, I would think we probably wouldn't want to go much further than here. Now, how long would they make it? Probably out to maybe like here. And then we had another one over here. To make that one come out to about maybe here. And then we have these over here. Now I'm thinking because the distance between these two is a bit shorter, maybe we might keep these more linear, but these over here, I'm gonna change it up a little bit. And for reference, let's get Captain Jack. Let's get Captain Jack over here. So here's Captain Jack. I looked up some stuff online for trenches. You don't want them so wide that you can move an entire platoon of men through, okay? You want it enough for 2 to 3 people across, preferably 2. Now, trenches that are further back, you could make them wider, because if you've been pushed that far back, you've lost the goat anyway. So here's Captain Jack. And what I'm thinking is, this is telling me where my camera angle is. Let's take this one and we'll extend it out, but we're going to curve like this. Okay, so we want them about that wide. We'll start over here. Let's put Captain Jack over here. Okay, like this. And so what I'm doing, I'm using Captain Jack here as a guide, right? I think that looks better than what I had originally planned. And I think I had maybe 2 or 3 of them here, but so now the distance between this trench and this trench should be a little bit more. And although we gouged this out there, which I'm not worried about that. We'll fill it in, we'll use it for something. But what I'd like to do is put another trench about that wide, but have it come this way. Okay? And we'll cross the ice flow like that. We'll bring this one over here, and we'll merge this with that. Okay? And this will be like a wide point. Why would you put something like that there? So during World War I, they had the early versions of tanks. And essentially, I'll see if I can put a picture up. They were pretty much oval boxes with tracks on them. And they would come up. If you hit a barrier here, okay, let's say there's a barrier here, they would come up, rise up, and then fall down. But the front end would fall down pretty hard. So if you have a wide point there and you were to do that, the tank would get stuck. So sometimes they had little wide points in there. All right. Okay, I think this looks good. It's not so linear and looks a bit more natural. Okay, so now let's think about this one over here. Let's do something similar and just kind of do maybe like a wavy line and another wavy line. We'll have a thin point or maybe just one. And then maybe a thicker point over here so they can't come to the side here and jump through. We may, yeah, no, I think that's good. That's good. Okay. And then this far part over here, we've got this ice ridge here. So so I'm going to move this so you can see it. Let me put this back for a second. And I'm going to draw, I think we had it like this, didn't we? About like that. Yeah. I'm going to draw a little outline here. Kind of a guide for myself. Not to, oh, that came off. We'll put that back on. You can't see the pile of mess that I got. So for this one, I thought I'd do something a little bit, I'll break it up a little bit. Maybe come up and then down like this. Kind of like a circle. And then this back one here, we're going to move this back a little bit. I'm going to come about like that. And then break it off and go like this. So that if they needed to, they could come forward here. Yeah, we might change that. We might change that. So there we go. Now you're thinking, what's to stop the Imperial forces from coming around this way and just going this way? Well, nothing really. The rebel cells that had gathered at Echo Base were only so big. If you watch the movie, the trenches were actually much further out, but I only have so much space here. The trenches were out to probably more like over, well, you can't see way, way that way. And that's not what I'm doing. Okay, I just don't have the room for that. Okay, now let's start cutting. Let's start cutting. So I'm going to get my friend here, undo that because it's cool now. We have these two right here, and we have this one. This is about an inch deep, so I think this one will do fine. Let's just put this guy in here, and we'll turn it on. I have been thinking about this for some time, and I think this is the way to do it. We're about to find out. So you're going to see me pseudo-experimenting on camera. It's just one of those things, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and dive into it head first, okay? All right, let me see if I can get everything set up here. So I don't think it matters which end I start on, but maybe what I'm going to do is in sections. So I'm going to start over here, come this way, and go that way. Now remember, we have 2 layers sandwiched together here. There's obviously some glue in between, but maybe not enough. We're about to see. I've picked this up and moved it, and the 2 pieces did not come together. All right, let's just wing it. I kind of felt it hit the other side. Now, you don't want to bury it in there and stay there for too long because you're melting everything and it's coating this. You can see the vapors coming off of it right now. So I'm going to go down until I feel the other one and just kind of zigzag. Okay, so already, I think what I need to do is get a paper towel to wipe off the excess material because it's getting coated. So we're just going to grab that and quickly just go over. You don't want to hold it. You don't want to hold it there, okay? That may have been out of camera view. Hold on, let me do this again. Okay, just take a regular paper napkin, hold it like this, and quickly just go over it. If you hold it there too long, you can already see the dark there. Some of that is the foam, but some of that is burning napkin. So let's be careful here. I don't want you to sue me and say, Doofus Bob, help me burn my house down. I ain't paying nobody nothing. So when it comes to depth, we want enough so that if our Legion figures were in there, just their head should stick up. So we might have to backfill a little bit, or we might have to dig more out. Like I said, this is we're both kind of learning here. Wipe it off. Keep going. Wipe it off. I think we need to let it warm up a little bit more every time we wipe it off. Yeah, it's pretty warm. You can see the first inch or so, it goes in really well, and then I'm fighting with it. And I think I'm going to make a mid change here. Let me grab something. I keep thinking about what's to stop the Imperial forces from coming this way. Well, what we're going to do is this. Okay, there we go. Now, an AT-AT, an AT-AT can just step over this, right? Let's see, is this in range? Just barely. Yeah. Let me adjust the camera here. Okay. I think we're better in view now. Let's wipe this off. Remember, we're not going for perfection here. Now, I'm not sure if I've used this piece before, but if you can see as I'm turning it, it's gotten a little bent already. So I'm going to go in the other direction. And I'll be honest and say I don't know how I'm going to get this out of here. I tell you what, let's take a stop this for a minute. Get in there and let's see if we can get that out of there somehow. We gouged this out, right? Now we need to get it out. Now some of the foam has melted back together. And I kind of thought that might happen. So what I'm going to do is try to figure out a different way of getting it out. And I wonder if I can just cut pieces of it out this way. go. And we got it out. All right, so let's do a little test here. Can you see this spot here? Yes, okay. There's Captain Jack. So if we were to let's take this right here and put it there. It's roughly about at his shoulder, meaning his head, and if he was leaning out over it, he could position his rifle. And I think that's about how deep we want it. All right, so let's do the rest. Let me fix this. Actually, we might just be able to, there it goes. We just need to get a good handle on it. And I'm going underneath it now. Oh, you see it needs more glue over there, doesn't it? Ah, okay. All right. So I tried to pop it out using some tools. That didn't work. This did. Okay. And now we know roughly how deep we need to go. We went way deeper than what we needed to. And if you look at this, we were going about that deep. And that's my own fault for not thinking that this is only 1-inch foam. I only need to go an inch deep. So do not beat yourself up over mistakes. It is how we learn. Okay. So now I can see just how deep I need to go. So now I'm just going to follow along. Okay. I'll wipe it off. Do the same thing. And I'm trying to bend it in the opposite direction this time. Because my little needle here, whatever they call it, is getting bent up pretty good. Wish I could put a little marker here of some sort, but it's hot, so I'm not sure what I would put on there. And I'm going to come across so I can take this section out. I think that first section was a little bit too long. Okay. Put this over here. All right. Here it is. We'll just go underneath. And, well, maybe I don't need the knife. Yeah, it came out. Now this one's a little bit more difficult. I think I hit a bit of glue. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now the irregular shapes in here, leave that in there. That's going to make it look really natural. Okay. This isn't one of the pyramids of Egypt, right? Where it's not so built so well you can't slide a piece of notebook paper in between the stones. We're not doing that here. These are rebels who are trying to survive. And I think maybe I should use something besides a paper towel. Seems a bit unsafe. Okay, again, we're bent in this direction. So now this is detaching a little bit here. So I think I need to go underneath and put some glue. Not unanticipated. Let's put Captain Jack in there. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. I think the 1 inch was a good call. So let's keep going. Let me check my camera angle view now. So you can see all the way out to here, right? Yep, we're good. We're good. Okay. All right. If you don't have one of these, you can use the utility knife here, but it's really, really much difficult. More difficult, I should say. Have to get another paper towel here in a minute. I'm gonna wait a second, let this warm back up. So as in melting foam, the heat from your foam cutter is transferring to the foam, which melts the foam, which then coats your foam cutter here. And so you have a loss of energy, and now it's trying to heat up. It's trying to, once the foam has melted, it now has, that melted foam has a higher melting point than the other foam around it that's not melted. So you're fighting enthalpy and all this heat business. So it's just best to take a minute and let it warm back up, and then you'll notice just how much easier it does cut. You know, don't be one of those people that fights with stuff and breaks things. I know people like that. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop here for a minute. Let that warm up and get this out. Thinking some parts I just didn't go deep enough. Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you what. Let me make sure we're still in camera angle. We are. I'll show you if we did it with this instead while that's warming up. First of all, make sure you don't want to be fully extended. This is floppy. And as you're cutting and forcing, you can slip, it'll break, and it'll go right into the side of your hand. And I know that because, oh my God, I saw somebody do it. And it was just, oh, there was so much blood. So much blood. Until this day, his hand doesn't quite grip as well because he went right in to some of the muscles and tendons, and it was yikes. So you see with the utility knife, it's a very thin, like you can't wave it out without breaking this. We can try, but it probably looks weird. Just a demonstration. Okay. And it worked too. But if you look at the difference here, see how smooth this is? See that? This is smooth. This is where I was trying to bend it. It looks, I guess it looks okay. But in here, let me see if I can get the camera to get you a good view. Now see how smooth that looks? It's kind of not what we want. Remember, they cut this out of ice and stuff, and we want it to look raggedy, right? I'm holding the camera in a weird way. So I tell you, this camera is weird. It looks like it's telling me I've got 4 hours on there, and I know I haven't done 4 hours. Between the two, I like this better. I moved the camera, so let me check my range here. Okay, we can easily do this one in camera view, and then I'll adjust it for that one. All right. So we have this ridge comes right out to here. So you know what? Let's be on the safe side here. Let's move all this over here. So we had a friend here, about like that, right? That's why we drew there, like that. That's why we drew that little outline there. So this trench, we'll fix this. It's gonna go right in front of there, and that's what you would want. So on the borders of France and Germany, the way they had the trenches were any natural obstacles they used. Okay, so if Imperials are coming this way, if we stop the trench here, okay, once they cross this one, they can just flood in through here and then surround them. But if you dig this trench out to past it, now they have to walk across it, and you could have snipers over here or up here taking them out. Right? So that's something to think about. They did consider warfare when they were making the movies. I don't know to what degree. I was at a Star Wars convention. I think that was the 2012 one, and one of the special effects people was showing reels of World War II fighter planes and whatnot, and how they had done some of the stuff. It's pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. Let's just start over here. Up and down motion keeps the foam from coating too much. You're moving the wand is at different temperatures throughout. I was about to say, okay, well, I haven't burned myself yet, but then watch, as soon as I say that, I'll burn myself. The burns off of this aren't too bad. It is very hot, but it's not as thin a wire as the other foam cutter, the half circle, which can not only burn you, but cut you too. So it's going to be a bit of a long video because I want to do it all while you're watching. And to be honest, I didn't have anything else to do today. I've been thinking about these trenches for months. I mean, I didn't lose any sleep on it, but you know. I did do some test runs on some pieces of foam, and this is what we came up with. Okay. Let me check my battery. Okay. This camera is weird. I swear, 1 minute it'll say 4 bars, and then 10 minutes later it's down to 2 bars. It's like, well, what the fuck? How did that happen? Yeah. You know what? Let's merge this with the ridge. Now, if you're wondering, okay, well, hey Bob, if you do this, then how does Captain Jack come over? We're going to make little drop ramps that will bridge over. Obviously not that big, right? Jump over there. And we have probably used the foam board, the sandwich one, with the paper, but with the styrofoam in the middle. Or we have some leftover pieces of plastic from something else that I will show you once we get to that. So as I mentioned, I work in a laboratory, and we're always ordering stuff like high end, expensive shit. Okay, we just bought an instrument that was well, the last one was $50,000. There was one before that that was no 2 years ago. It was like $300,000. So of course I'm not taking those things, but what comes with them are little styrofoam bits and wrapping stuff that just heavy duty materials that look pretty awesome. That I saved. Okay, you know what? We're at a point where I need to let this warm up a little bit. So what I'll do is go ahead and cut into this a little bit. There we go. Let's let that warm up. Again, I don't have too many subscribers, but how's your January going? I hope things are going well for you to start a new year. If not, and you can, because it's not easy to just change, especially if you've got a large family or something. But change it if something's not going well. I've been at my company for 23 years, and let me tell you, that's pretty rare now. When I started working there, the average time people were around was 20 years, and then the next average was 10. And I remember one guy retired at 50 years in the company, the same company, and then another at 46. Now, I'll tell you what, we hire people, and you're talking to them, they're like, oh, I worked 6 months here, 6 months there, 1 year there. And one guy was like, I spent 2 years at this one company. I couldn't believe how long I was there. And I'm sitting here, I've been here 23 years. But if it wasn't worth the effort, I would have changed it. But I think I got lucky in that it was. Okay. Now, we could always fast forward this part, but until my channel moderator Donut, don't do that. Just let it go. All right. Now, I need to fight with this a little bit somewhere to get it out. Get it out there. There we go. Again, don't worry about if you gouge it here and there, like this part right here. That's just a little hole that the rebel has to step into. Cut this so it came right on top of where some glue is. There we go. Be right back. I'm going to grab some. Oh, I guess I'm not going to grab it. I think I took my screwdriver upstairs and put it back where it belongs. I think we need to cut a little bit more here. Yep, that was the problem. So as we melt along here, it melts and then re-solidifies. Yeah. I was fighting with it, for no reason. Now I could have cut that part, or I could cut this part out and make myself look like I know everything I'm doing. I'm not going to do that. So this worked out nicely. So if you have a troop here, you can see, and he's trying to, and Imperial troops come around this way and jump in here, you know, you can get one or two next to each other here, but once you get to here, you got a choke point. And that was something they did in the trench warfares. They had choke points so that people and enemy troops, if they did get in there, so he's going to have to run this way. And you'll see that if you have an Imperial trooper coming this way, they can only go one at a time. Well, look what's waiting for him here. This guy is behind this little ridge here, and he's just going to shoot him down. Now this guy's dead, so all the Imperial troops here have to jump over his dead body to get over. And that was the horror of trench warfare. It was awful. Okay. Now for this part over here, I'm thinking let's just cut it at an angle like that. Do not leave. Let me make sure I can get this here. Okay, so you see this little piece here. Let's say this is stuck on the end here like that. If you leave it there long enough, it could actually catch on fire. So don't do that. Trying to keep you from burning your house down. Okay. All right. So let me move the camera over here. There you go. There's the first two trenches are done. And what I'm going to do is it's just going to be more of me cutting like this. So I'm probably just going to end it here. All right, hey, we're back. So it took about an hour, really. I made some changes, and let me get my pointer stick here. Let me check my range here. There we go. So you'll look over here. We started here, right? And we came around, and originally we had stopped here. There's actually a little line in there. I don't know if you can see it. But if you go further back, we went all the way to the ridge because from a tactical point, why would you leave that open, right? So we went ahead and dug out some more. We put this one over here, like we said we were. And I think this looks much better than what I originally had. Originally, it was like a straight line here, a straight line there, two straight lines there, and a straight line there. This looks a little bit more natural and realistic, okay? Remember, the rebellion doesn't have the resources of the empire. It's not going to look perfect. It's not going to be straight lines and angles. They're just going to dig out what they can in the amount of time they have. So remember, the Imperial fleet came out of hyperdrive, and then based on other literature, expanded universe stuff, I think they dug the trenches after the Imperial fleet arrived. Sorry. And so they were very quick. I don't think they had these in place already. Maybe they did. But I'm going to move the camera here a little bit. Let's get a little closer view here. So we've got, let me lower this. There we go. Yeah, okay, that's a good view. So I put some of the figures out. And you can see that their heads are just sticking over. That's kind of what I wanted. And we've got the tauntaun and the little, I always forget what these are, kind of little scout tracker right there, right? Um, we will we have more rebel troops and stuff that we're going to paint eventually and put on here. And I plan to have these in little squads and whatnot. But this is going pretty much the way I would like it to go. I'm going to take the camera around to the other side. So you can see from this angle, there's where the Imperial forces will be further out over there. And here's this trench right here. Let me see if I can get a good view of, yeah. If the light's too bright, say something. Trying to make sure there's enough light. It seems to look well in the videos. I do watch my videos, usually at work during lunch, just to see how they're doing or how they look. You know, because I watch on my computer monitor and then I can watch them on my TV at home. So there we go. This was really, I think, the most difficult part for me. The rest is going to be the painting and everything, or not. I shouldn't say everything. We're going to put down paint. The next episode, we'll probably get some pieces of foam and do some testing on a mixture of paint. And what I'll do is I'll have a variety. I'll probably do 4 or 5 mixtures. I'll put them down on some foam. I'll 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 mix them in front of you, and I'll put them down in front of you, and then we'll cut and let it sit maybe overnight or something and see how it looks. See how it feels. Um, Again, it has to be thin enough to get into all these crevices, and but thick enough to look like snow. Now there's little fine clay or sand that we can get that's white, and we can put that down along certain areas to look like snow building up in places. We'll get to that. Couple things I might do in between this video and the next is we have a flat top on that ridge, this ridge. This one looks fine the way it is. There's a flat top here. You can see this one. I'll probably do something there. And on top of this one over here. When it comes to the gaps in between some of these lines you see, we'll paint over them and fill it with snow material. But honestly, for this entire build, the trenches were the part that was really making me a little bit iffy. Not nervous, iffy. You want to come out right. And I think I was making too much out of it. It came out well. You saw how I did it. I did these two for you. And I spent another hour doing that while I was watching some ghost videos. Apparently, there's a lot of dogman sightings in Ohio. And I'm fascinated with that stuff. If those of you that follow some of the more supernatural or ancient alien type stuff, Eric von Daniken passed away. And if you don't know, he wrote Chariots of the Gods, I believe. I read that in college and was just fascinated with it. He was one of the first people to theorize that, certain structures on this planet, mankind just couldn't have built. So people say, oh, he's always talking about aliens. Well, it may not have been aliens. It might have been a previous civilization. What does that have to do with this? Absolutely nothing. It's just something stuff. I like to see what people are watching and stuff in their spare time. I love those things. fan of World War II and One and all that stuff too, history. But anywho, so that's where we are. Um, we'll probably need to glue this piece onto there and start experimenting with our painting formulations. As far as colors go, I'm thinking a thin dark blue wash across the flat base here, the ground itself. For the ridges and everything, we're gonna go with probably a flat black, and then over that we will do some splotches of red and yellow and maybe some grays, and then over that we'll start doing some blues for the ice, just paint. And then over that is when we'll have to maybe formulate a thicker snow material made of Mod Podge and maybe drywall paste and Elmer's glue and water. Might put a little isopropyl alcohol in there to help with the drying. What that might do is, where the alcohol evaporates a little bit quicker, it'll shrink in a different speed versus the rest of the surface, and that gives us a little bit of variation. It's a little bit more organic looking. Just some thoughts here. So tell me what you think. I think this looks pretty good. That ridge ended up staying where it was. I was going to move it down more, but it worked out just fine. It worked out fine. And I might purchase a shield generator resin tabletop diorama thing on Etsy, maybe. I'll look and see. I'll put it up if I get one. Okay, like and subscribe. This episode came out a bit longer, but it was worth it. It looks fantastic. I'm very happy with it. And I will see you next time. All right. Hey, everybody have fun and try to stay warm out there. It is butt fucking cold. Have fun.